Good morning, everyone, and thank you guys so much for joining today. So far, the market's not really doing too much after a pretty good day yesterday. There was a couple important news or news catalysts to be aware of. But nothing too major. I would say the biggest thing was with Tesla actually. Like I said, it's nothing crazy, but Elon did come out and he basically said that he's done enough selling of Tesla stock to satisfy himself for now. So that's good at least. I know he's been dumping a lot of shares lately, but then again, he did have some pretty big tax bills to cover, so I guess you could say it's justified, but either way, it's good that he said that he plans to, halt his selling for now at least.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. And like he said, he has to pay $11 billion in taxes. Man, can it get any worse almost? But either way, he's making a lot. So obviously he needs to get the money from somewhere. So I'm glad that he's, honestly, I feel like that it could have been worse, Mike, to be honest. I know the pullback was from 1,200 down to, 1,000 or 900 where we ended up. But I'll be honest, whenever he started selling, whenever we saw that first initial day down being 12 or 15% I was expecting a pretty big sell-off, but I was glad to see Tesla actually hold up as well as it did.
True that. And I was reading a CNBC article, and I'm pretty sure that it said that even though he is selling his shares, it's at least a good portion of the proceeds from that will go towards his tax bill. But I'm pretty sure CNBC said that with all of the options he got with Tesla stock, I'm pretty sure he actually owns more shares of Tesla now after this whole situation happening. So even though he sold his shares, I'm pretty sure he now actually has more shares than he had in the beginning of the year. I could be wrong on that, but I thought that is what the article said. So that's interesting. I'm actually pulling it up right now. Sorry, CNBC is taking a second to load. All right, it's blocking me out, Tom. So I'll check it out later.
Yeah, it's all good. But man, the stock was on fire this morning. We kind of went up and hit that 980 resistance. I will say it had a lot of good movement. So hopefully, it looks like in market open, it's pulling back a little bit, actually pretty drastically. But I hope we see it go back up later on.
Okay, cool. So I found it out. It said that CNBC said over that time, Musk has actually increased his holdings in Tesla due to the exercising of options. So that's good. But shifting over to the market overall, we could see that it's holding its ground relatively well. There are definitely more stocks in the red today than there were yesterday. But, yesterday was a pretty crazy day. One stock that's looking pretty decent, Tom, is, of course, DraftKings, but I would say even Apple, we're getting really, really close to breaking out. There's a little bit of resistance right around 173 to 173, 25, and, we're looking pretty good.
Yeah, I will say it looks like it's really starting to break out right now. I love to see that. I have a resistance posted there around 174 and then another one up around 176, and I really hope we can get up through there, but it looks pretty good today, Mike. I will say Apple's doing good. We even have the value stocks almost look at Caterpillar actually gap up this morning. That's actually a pretty big move from a stock like Caterpillar, and I'm curious if stocks like KO are doing good. It looks like they're a little bit more flat, but man, like you said, Caterpillar, Apple, some of those big players are doing very well today.
You know it. So we have Slick saying, good morning, Mike and Tom. Shout out to the boy Hunter. Hope everyone has a green day in the markets. There we go. Thanks so much for joining, Slick. And welcome Hunter, Bravo, George, Vicky, Matt, Rick, and Sam. Thank you guys so much for joining. Let us know what stocks you're watching, and we'll definitely take a look at them. But we have Bravo saying, market's down. What's the usual trend in the market pre-Christmas days? So a lot of times we do see a Santa rally, which is, where the market just explodes up. I actually made a video, I want to say 2 weeks ago on the main channel called How Christmas impacts stocks, I think it's called. And basically I just go over what usually happens around this time. December is a pretty good month for the market, and then like I said, a lot of times towards the end of the year / right around Christmas, we do see a Santa rally, which is just where a lot of stocks pop up. But then again, that doesn't always happen. But so far it was looking pretty good yesterday, and as long as we as long as the market holds its ground today, I think we should be pretty good.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty good too. The SPY is actually holding up pretty well. It looks like it's bouncing off that kind of intraday support level there, right around 462. I think it looks pretty decent. If we could break up above that high of pre-market there, right around like 460, 360, I think we could get a pretty good pop up today. But, I think it's just going to take good continuations from these stocks like we were talking about, like Apple, Caterpillar. It looks like Apple actually just started to pull back, unfortunately. Caterpillar is still doing decent, but also on the green candle, they are pulling back. So looks like a couple of those stocks that we're running are kind of coming back down now, Mike. And looking at my watch list, Tesla has now regained the top of it, up 3.4%. I'm glad to see them kind of turn back around, though, which is great. So maybe Tesla will be the good play for the momentum today.
There we go. Tesla definitely has a good history of momentum plays, so that's awesome. And yeah, I just did a quick scan, and it looks like Tesla's definitely leading the way. Another one that's not looking too bad for today is actually Roblox. They're also basically breaking their high of day, and they're trying to fill that gap. It's not huge, but it's just between I guess you could say 105.40 and what is that, 99, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere really close to that. And I think it's a pretty good gap to fill. And I kind of like that they filled it, to be honest. I think it looks like a pretty good move. And even today, if they're able to break out above 105, I think that could make for a pretty good move, maybe up towards that 107.50 area, kind of like where we hit a couple weeks ago. But man, I really like this setup. Roblox has had a lot of good news lately. And, whenever they run, sometimes they go on some pretty explosive, some pretty explosive runs there. So I'm glad to see it up today. Hopefully we start to get up towards up above 105 towards 110. I think that would be amazing for them. But we'll have to see. They're pretty volatile, and this honestly their setup kind of reminds me of Upstart lately, or AFRM.
Gotcha. So, Tom, I know the cruise lines were going crazy over the past couple of days. How are they looking today, and what levels do you have on some of these cruise line stocks?
They are looking pretty good. I will say CCL just popped up above that key $20 support. So now I think that's going to be pretty good for them. Looking at them today, they're getting really close to 20. We can see that actually right at market open, there was a couple of big candles, and we extended we actually came within 2 cents of $20. So that was really close there. If $20 holds up as a good support, I think CCL could end up bouncing back up again today. Obviously make them break this $20.80 high up here. I think that's a pretty big resistance, especially right around 20.75. So I feel like that's pretty good. $20 support with the $20.80 resistance. We can actually almost draw a little bit of a channel here and then just kind of wait for it to break there. I think that's the smarter way to go.
Awesome, awesome. All right, and then we have Mike saying, good morning, everyone. Thoughts on Upwork. So UPWK. I like this one for the long term. It's definitely been struggling over the past couple of months, but really all growth companies have been doing the same exact thing. But I really do like Upwork for the long term, especially with everything that happened over the past 2 years with COVID and everything. I think Upwork, I think the world has really changed over the past 2 years, and I think Upwork has a lot to benefit from that. They have a lot to do with freelancing, and I guess you could say working from home kind of, and just hiring people online. And I've used it before. It's pretty good, and I like their platform, and I just think they have a lot of potential to grow. And on top of that, they're still in a major growth phase. So I like it, especially at this price point.
Yeah, me too. They're actually at a really good support. $30 is going to be huge for them. If they break below that, I don't know how low they're going to end up going, but hopefully they hold up here around $30. I think it looks pretty nice, Mike. And like you said, they're a growth company. They're in that growth stage. So, almost every growth stock's been pulling back. So don't just look at this specific company. And, the good news is that if the rest of the growth stocks start to go back up, this one will probably go up with it. And I'll be honest, the way it looks right now, we have a pretty good setup going on, in my opinion, on the daily chart. And if we start to get some pretty good extensions up above 35, I'll really like this one.
Here we go. All right, Tom. So checking back in on some of these stocks, it looks like Tesla's definitely leading the way. For me, in second place, we have like Corsair. Corsair is only up around 1.5%, but I will say the setup does look promising so far today. It's not as liquid as Tesla, and it definitely does not have like the same type of momentum, but we're definitely trending in the right direction so far, and we're like just under that resistance right around $22.
Yeah, I think that resistance is going to be pretty big. We can see here at market open, it got rejected right around there. So definitely watch that area. It seems like that's a pretty hot area of contention. So if we're able to break that, I think it could be pretty good, especially on the daily chart, Mike. Like if we're able to get a nice breakout, who knows how high we could end up rising. I think we could probably go up towards $25 pretty easily once we start to break here above 22. That's actually a pretty good like 3-point gap actually. So I feel like that there could be some pretty good short-term movement here. Obviously, I love Corsair for the longer term, but for the shorter term, it seems like it's making some pretty good plays. Like you pointed out, I actually have Caterpillar in second place. It's actually up 2%. Looks like they're kind of starting to break out again, but hopefully they don't get rejected at this resistance again.
You know it. And then, Tom, check out Palantir. This one's actually looking really good right now. So lots of momentum right from open. We're just under that $19 resistance. And it's exploding up right now. And I think this one actually looks really good. One intraday, but even on that daily chart, I actually really like this one.
Yeah, me too. It's setting up just like the rest of them, man. Like we're seeing so many awesome setups here with stocks bouncing on support. Palantir is going to be one of the better ones, I think, that's going to recover, Mike, because it feels like that Palantir has been getting especially beaten down. Like I feel like we've seen this one falling way through some of these major supports while a lot of other stocks were holding up on them. So I really hope that this ends up being the bottom for Palantir. And like you said, that intraday movement looks amazing. We can see it actually just broke 19 and it's already up towards like 1910. I'm wondering how high this one can start to run today.
Yeah, I do like this one. I'm like really tempted to like sell some puts on it or something like that. Like maybe get some calls, maybe get some shares. Like I think it looks pretty good. We just broke out. I'm seeing the next resistance right around like $19.28. And Tom, like let's say we break like $19.28 or whatever other resistance. Like what's after that? Because I know Palantir is only up like 1% today, and it definitely does have a history of rising more than that.
Yeah, so after 1928, there's actually not too much more resistance until $20 even. I will say $20 even is going to be pretty big. We've had multiple bounces there over the past few weeks, so definitely look at $20. That's going to be huge. But I think if we break 1928, we might get a pretty decent pop up to there, and that would be a pretty decent gain actually. You can see we're already up 1% and we're only up 19 cents. So if we end up popping $1 up to 20, that would be pretty good, I think. And Mike, it's looking pretty hot, so maybe we'll actually get there today.
Yeah, I'm really eyeing up some short puts on it. Like I'm looking at, I don't know, maybe like the 19 strike or like the $18.50 strike puts for January 21st of 2021. And these are potential short candidates, so I'm bullish on the stock. And the premiums really aren't bad on it, because let's say we did like the $18.50 put, that would only cost around $1,850 to do this put, but then like the margin requirement would only be like, I don't know, maybe like 900 or so, and then you pick up like $80. So it's not bad, and I don't know, I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think it looks really good as well. That would be an awesome strategy to do that. And I might look into that one after we get off the live stream. That's going to be a pretty cool thing to see. And I'm really glad to see it breaking like this, Mike. And it looks like on the 15-minute chart, we're actually up above that 1,000 SMA too, which is usually a pretty big level.
Awesome. So checking back in on some of the watch list stocks, we definitely are seeing some profit taking, but in certain stocks like Boeing, at least we're holding the ground, you can say. Like I know that, we are seeing some profit taking, but it's only down like 0.3%. You know what I mean? Like after such a huge day like we saw yesterday, it's not really the end of the world. And I guess you could say it goes to show that, buyers are, just like holding their ground.
Yeah, definitely. And, we're right around that key $200 resistance. So it's probably putting up a bit of a fight right here. And hopefully we can break it. If not today, then possibly tomorrow or even maybe next week. I know that this week's going to be short with Christmas coming up and everything like that. But maybe it'll be a fresh start to the new year. Maybe we'll see Boeing and some of those stocks start to fly next year. But, I really hope that we see those stocks start to go. If they break up about $200, especially like in pre-market today, $200.50, that's going to make for, I think, a pretty good intraday move. But, we'll have to see how they end up going. Like you said, I would not be surprised if they kind of consolidated today. Yesterday was very, very good. We ran pretty much all the way up from 190 all the way up to 200. So that's a pretty decent gain out of Boeing.
Exactly. All right. So, yeah, I mean, Hunter was saying that the margin requirement for him was only like $185. So that's insane. So, like, if that is the margin requirement and you're picking up 80 and then the margin requirement is 185, it's a 43% ROI on a monthly expiration. But keep in mind, that's just the margin requirement, and it definitely fluctuates. But wow. And then Palantir's breaking out right now. So it's like this setup looks really, really good in my opinion. I mean, obviously it looked better when we were talking about it before it broke out, but still it's not bad. And that margin requirement's insanely low, which is really, really good.
Yeah, it broke that $19.28 resistance there. It's starting to really move up, Mike. Like I could see this one getting up towards $20 today. It's looking explosive and, it's already up 2.3%, but sometimes we see this one go on some pretty explosive moves to the upside. And, this one's been beaten down for a long time. If we start to break some of these key resistances coming up, like especially that $20 level, I could see this one maybe running up towards like 23 to 25. This one honestly has been getting pretty beaten down, and I could see this one really recovering back. And, they've even had some pretty good contracts and stuff come out, which has been, you would think that would help them out, but just like every other growth stock, they ended up going down.
All right. So with the next comment, we have Bravo saying, how do you guys feel about DVA? I am in the stock. So DVA, let's take a look. DVA, right now it is up like 0.5%. Honestly, it's just not really a play for me. That does not mean it's bad at all. It looks like they actually report some pretty good earnings a lot of times, but it's just, honestly, I don't follow the company too much. That's why I'm not in it. Over the past couple of years, they have done very, very, very well. So that's good. The trend looks awesome. It looks like you're in probably at a good level. So their earnings are good. Like the setup looks good. It's just, honestly, I don't really follow the play too much, so I don't have too much to say. They did bounce off that $100 support, which is great. And Tom, would you say like the next resistance is around like 115 or so, or are you seeing something else?
I'm seeing one of them around 110, like maybe like one of those closer levels. And then the next one's definitely up there, like right around 115. I think 115 will probably be the bigger one here, but I honestly like this setup. I think it looks pretty good on the chart. It looks like you said, bouncing off support nicely. It kind of looks like a bit of like an inverse head and shoulders pattern here. Like the head's down here, we have a couple shoulders starting to form. And if we're able to break out above 115, this one could start to really move, in my opinion. Like Mike said, we just don't know what this company does. We haven't really heard of them too much, but the movement looks great, to be honest.
Yeah, I know they're in like the health industry. You can say it's DaVita. Like I actually see the company a lot. It looks like they have a lot to do with like kidney disease and dialysis, but it's just not really something I follow too much. So it's like like obviously I don't know as much about DaVita as I do about DraftKings or Corsair or anything like that. It's just like I kind of like to stick to like what I know more about, and for me it's just like DraftKings, I guess you could say Corsair, AI, Zoom, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of like how I am too. It's so much better to stick to what you know, and obviously I think the setup looks good, but the fundamentals, we just have no idea what they are. Obviously we look a lot more into these stocks, and it looks like these ones are actually kind of low. So it looks like they're in good opportunities. Like we talked about earlier with Corsair, they were kind of going down earlier, Mike, but they kind of recovered pretty well.
Yeah. All right. And then we also had Bravo mention Walmart. So Walmart is down like 0.5% today. It's been all over the place over the past couple of weeks. Like this one has been crazy. Like it's been all over the place. So I like it for the long term. It's really hard to bet against Walmart for the long term. In the short term, they're not looking bad though for like a dip buy for shares. But honestly, I would only hit this one with shares, not options as of right now.
Yeah, I think I would too. Walmart, it's been doing pretty good, to be honest. Like it's been pretty flat, but we did just have a pretty good week before this bit of a downtrend again. So I don't know if we end up falling down below support, it's not going to be good, but hopefully Walmart gets a boost. The holidays just happened, and sometimes that like we talk about the Santa rally and everything, sometimes boost stocks like Walmart, but it looks like this year it's not happening. So I don't know, Mike. I mean, I'd really hope to see them go back to the upside, but it's just not looking good today, especially.
Yep, and then Bravo said support for Walmart 125-136 or higher with the question mark. So let's see. I mean, 125 is really far down there. I doubt we'll test that, but anything's possible. But yeah, I would say there's support right around like 125 to 126, and then there's also another level right around like you could say like 135 to 136. So yeah, I mean right around those levels. Then there's a smaller support level right around like 137.50 that I'm seeing.
Yeah, I'm definitely like looking at the right around like 135. I'm seeing tons of touches right around there. Like Mike said, you could say like that time it was at like 137 back here is also another one. So definitely keep that one in mind. It looks like it might have bounced around that 137 over the past couple of days, actually. So if we see it fall back below that, it might not be good news. But yeah, I mean, looking at it, Mike, it's not looking too good to me, to be honest. It's been flat for a long time. Honestly, it's going to end up down year over year almost if it doesn't get on an uptrend here soon.
All right. Then we have Cornish saying AI looking nice. Yeah, I really like AI setup actually. So it's up 1.5% today. It's not one of the leaders just yet, but it's looking really, really good. They're breaking out, decent volumes flowing in. So far intraday, it's been pretty awesome. On the daily, it's been awesome. So I really like the setup.
Yeah, this one's one of my favorites out there. I think they've been doing great lately. They had some good news with that good contract a while ago, and then they went right back down off the news, but they ended up holding that $30 support. And I think that was a pretty key thing that they ended up doing. They look like, honestly, it's setting up just like Palantir, just like a lot of these other growth stocks are. I think it looks great, especially if we're able to break out. I'm seeing some pretty big resistance on AI. Like right around like $40. And then I have another one posted here right around 35. In the shorter term, I'm really waiting for that move up above 35. And then after that, up above 40.
There we go. All right. And then we have George mentioning pins on a nice rally. So Pinterest. This one has also been struggling a good amount, but today it's looking awesome. It's up 4%. The daily looks pretty good. Good volume is flowing in. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of momentum with this one.
Yeah, this one is on fire, Mike. I didn't they almost get bought out by somebody a while ago?
I thought there was something about it. Honestly, I forgot. I thought there was.
There was a big move.
Yeah, like towards the end of October, I thought there was something. I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, it was kind of like one of those under the radar things. I think it was something like they were getting bought out by maybe like PayPal or somebody. It might not have been PayPal, but I thought there was definitely talks for them to get bought out. But look at this nice double bottom and the recovery right here. This looks great, especially after all that bad news. They're actually setting up very nicely, Mike. And, they're part of like that social media sector, which has generally done pretty good. I know that it pulled back for the past year, but it looks pretty good right here.
Yep, and then George and Vicky said that, Pinterest was in talks to be acquired by PayPal. So yeah, you were right, Tom. And thank you, Vicky and George, for that information. But yeah, like I'm reading some of the articles from late October, and PayPal was in late stage talks to acquire Pinterest for like $39 billion. So that'd be like around $70 a share. And wow, it really fell off the board.
Yeah, it really did. Sorry, I was taking a drink, but yeah, everybody was looking at Pinterest to the upside, and man, they really got a nice uptrend there for those few days. And I remember, Mike, this one had a lot of attention. I remember for that like one day. I remember a lot of people were buying shares in hopes that, whenever PayPal acquired them for $70, obviously they would get $70 a share. And then whenever the deal fell through, I remember so many people were angry at the time. It was just one of those almost like worst case scenarios for someone buying shares at that time.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. Like it was at $65 on, what was that, October 20th, and probably even higher in like pre-market, and it fell all the way down to 34. Like that's a pretty big drop over the course of like a month or two.
Yeah, it really is like over almost 50%. Like that's just insane to see. Obviously that's just a really bad drop. They hit like right on resistance too. Like that 65 resistance ended up holding up pretty strongly right there. And then they gapped all the way down below like $50 within that like one aftermarket session there. So it was a crazy time, but it looks like they are coming back up now. Who knows? Maybe if their stock does a little bit better, somebody else will want to buy them. But looking at Pinterest, we talked about they might have got bought out by PayPal, but let's go look at PayPal. I know they actually have been, consolidating down here at the bottom like a lot of these growth stocks, and they actually don't look too bad themselves.
There we go. All right, and then let's see. We have Bravo saying, I mean, I won't be buying Costco, would rather buy Walmart or Kroger instead. There we go. And then we have Bravo saying, look at EXPE. EXPE. Let's take a look. Wow, this one was actually looking pretty good over the past couple of days. I know that they took a little bit of a beating with like COVID and everything, because it really hurt like a lot of like travel and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it looks like they're recovering pretty well. They are just under like the 180 resistance, and then after that, they have some more resistance right around like 190 to like 192.
Yeah, it looks like they're kind of following like the airline sector to the upside, or those cruise lines. Like ever since CCL reported good earnings, it seems like XPE or EXPE has been on fire here. Yesterday was actually very explosive for them.
Yep. All right, and then we have Bravo saying, is Twitter a good investment? I just like other companies more. I mean, it's hard to say yes or no. I think they're okay. It's just I like companies more than Twitter. So, like, I like other companies more than I like Twitter for the long term. So for that reason, I'm just not going to buy Twitter. I'm not necessarily going to bet against them. It's just like, when I have an opportunity with DraftKings at $30 or Corsair at $22 or Palantir at $19.20 or even Chewy at $56. It's like I'm going to choose any one of those over Twitter at 44.
Yeah, I agree. I think those stocks are a little bit better as well. I think Twitter is setting up pretty well, though. They do have a nice double bottom going on. They're kind of like right around that $40 support, and they're on that 1,000 SMA, which is pretty good. But, I will say their setup looks pretty good, at least on the chart, like with the candlesticks and everything. I know, though, that the main thing, Mike, that worries me about Twitter for the long term, I love playing this double bottom down here. I think that looks great if you just want to play a shorter term play. But for the longer term, the stuff that worries me about Twitter for the next, couple of years, let's say, in my opinion, they've had so much problems lately with, all this like political stuff and, like trying to like meddle in things and, like they're censoring stuff and all this. And, there's been like a lot of like lawsuits and stuff coming out, and their one CEO just stepped down, which was Jack Dorsey, a huge name actually stepped down. And, maybe that'll help the company now that he's gone, but who knows? In my opinion, they've just had so much political stuff going on and everything like that, that I just feel like that, they're a good company, of course, and I love playing the setup on them. But for the next couple of years, I just have no idea, how they're going to react or exactly like how these lawsuits are going to go or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's just like, out of all of the other stocks, I'm just not going to choose this one because there's just better opportunities in my opinion. Like even AI at this level, you know what I mean? Like AI's at 34. I know it took a beating over the past year, but I just feel like there's so many other better deals out there. Like even if you wanted to go with like maybe Pinterest or like Apple or like Roblox even, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I mean, it's just not really for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better than Pinterest, to be honest. Like, if we look at the companies, I think it's just a more established business. That's the good thing Twitter has going for them, is that, they've been around for a long time. They're pretty established, and that's the good thing they have. They obviously have a lot of cash flow. But I will say, Mike, this last earnings actually scares me a little bit. They came in with a negative EPS. I mean, man, we've been seeing all these other stocks get demolished on their EPSs, and obviously Twitter did too. But that's not good for a company that's been around so long.
True. All right, and then we have Alex saying, what do you think of DOCU for a swing trade? DOCU. Let's take a look. DOCU, it's not bad. I wouldn't say it's my favorite setup, but I think it does look good. The main thing is the like resistance right around 160. Tom, what other levels do you have on this one?
Man, this one is honestly insane. I remember how we kind of fell off the table the other day. I'm seeing a huge support here right around really close to like 185 overall. It looks like a lot of these candlesticks got really close to 185 at least. So looking like 185 to me is going to be the main one. But I mean, obviously, we're all the way down here right now. Going back, I'm seeing like 150 as being a huge one back in history. But over the past few weeks, I think we just need to go like almost to like a 90-day, 15-minute chart to kind of see this. But yeah, I'm seeing like 160, Mike. I think that's going to be the main level there in the shorter term. It's very hard to tell with how this chart's been moving, but 160 is definitely one of the larger supports. There's definitely lots of movement there.
Yeah, these setups are hard to play because like when you gap down from 230 all the way down to 140, that is a huge drop. And the problem is that like sometimes it takes months or like even years to like recover from this type of drop. And then sometimes, you see like maybe like recovery back up to like 200 over the course of a couple weeks. It's just like it's hard to play this type of setup, and it definitely can recover back up. But to see any notable recovery, we're gonna need to see some good news or at least like a change in sentiment in the market. You know what I mean? Like if the market just stays very choppy like it has been, it's just going to make it a lot harder to, see like a recovery. So for that reason, like it's like decent, but we just need like a breakout and like momentum and like something to something to really get this stock moving.
Yeah, and I think if we can get up above like maybe this highest candlestick, like maybe up above like 163, we might be able to get some pretty nice moves back to the upside. But until then, I just don't think it's really worth looking at unless you're looking to get shares for the long term. If you're comfortable holding this for a couple of years, it might be pretty good. But, keep in mind, they just had this huge drop. Their EPS was good, but obviously there was lots of other aspects to it. So definitely go read about it. It's going to be a pretty interesting next couple of years for them, to say the least. But just like everything else, Mike, they're a growth stock. They're in that growth sector, so hopefully they go back up in the future.
There we go. And then we have George saying, "Will MU hold 89?" Let's take a look. It's not looking good so far. It's really struggling right around that level. We're breaking down right now. It looks like we're definitely seeing some profit taking. So yeah, I mean, right now it's not looking too good.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly could see it keep going down personally myself. It just fell below that $90 resistance early on this morning, kind of popped below that 100 SMA. I don't like to see that either. It's definitely selling off. And, it's had a great past couple of days. So the sell-off's almost expected. I kind of expected it to sell off yesterday, honestly, but ended up going right back up at the end of the day. Yeah, I could see it coming back, Mike. It looks like they do have their earnings conference call tonight and after hours. So who knows how that's going to go. But looking at the stock on the daily, I will say that gap up looks pretty nice. And I would really love to see it continue up if we could break out above like 91. But, obviously it's going to take a couple of days of consolidation before we start to go, I think.
Exactly. And then we have Kevin asking about AMD puts. So AMD is also taking a bit of a hit today. It's not crashing, but it's definitely taking a hit. Yeah, I think AMD puts look pretty good for like a short-term trade. Let me just check something really quickly. I just want to take a look at these other chip stocks. So AMD's taking a hit, MU's taking a hit, but NVIDIA is kind of holding up. And then TSM is actually doing really good. So like a lot of times if you're betting against like a certain chip stock to go down, you generally want to see like other negative sentiment with the other chip stocks. And like we're kind of seeing that, but not fully, because like NVIDIA is flat, TSM is rising, and MU is falling. So it's like it's kind of split. I like the setup. We might be just a little bit early though, because it's hard to bet against chip stocks, especially when other chip stocks are holding their ground.
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of looks like AMD is setting up just like MU intraday. Like their setups almost look identical in my opinion. And looking at it, I think MU looks like it could fall down a little bit more than AMD. keep in mind AMD didn't rise as much as MU did over the past few days. So looking at it, I could see AMD coming back. But like Mike said, we're also another problem with it is that we're coming down into a lot of these support levels down here. Like 136 is going to be huge, and then there's some of them in between, like 140 and like 139.50. I think right around there is going to have some pretty big supports intraday, and we're honestly pretty close to those. So maybe watch for a little bit of supports intraday, but I think it looks pretty good to the downside. But like Mike said, if we see NVIDIA start to pop, I mean, it's going to be hard for AMD to fall.
There we go. And then we have Bravo saying, how is the IWM and SPY look like today? So IWM has not moved at all, but then again, the market has literally been open for 32 minutes, so it's only been open for a very short amount of time. The SPY is at least trending up a little bit, so that's good. Right now, I'm just expecting like a consolidation day, especially after a huge day yesterday, and even like more importantly than anything else, like I don't know about you, Tom, but I'm really looking at like some of these like not smaller cap stocks, but like just these growth plays like DraftKings, Palantir is finally looking good, Corsair is finally looking good, AI is finally looking good. Like I feel like the big opportunity is going to be with I guess you can say these smaller companies, but like companies like Apple and Microsoft and all these other huge ones like Amazon and Google, while they're great, profitable, and powerful companies, it's like I just don't see a ton of opportunity with them in the short term.
Yeah, me either, really. I could see Amazon maybe going up, but the thing is that even if it does go up, we have to realize that, while Amazon's a great company, if they go retest their all-time highs, they're going up like 12%. If they get up to $4,000, they're going up 20%. I know that's a pretty good gain, but we just have to keep in mind that stocks like, Corsair could go up 20% a lot quicker, and then could go up, obviously a lot higher percentages than Amazon, which I think, in my opinion, that's why it gives me more of a, more of a need to buy those stocks rather than getting Amazon and getting AMD and getting all these other stocks that are up here at their highs. It's just, obviously, I feel like Amazon is setting up decent. It might be bouncing off support. It looks like it has a few green days coming in. It might get a bit of a Santa rally, but like I said, I mean, you're going to be playing it up, for a nice 10%, 20%, uptrend here all the way up to $4,000, which is some brand new highs, which would be amazing. And, we just have to keep in mind that these other stocks, I think, could move a lot more. Like whenever we go look at AI, like you pointed out earlier, Mike, they were at $180. Like, I'm not saying they're going to go all the way back up to that, but I mean, man, the potential for like 100% increase, I think is pretty high.
Yeah. All right. So with the next comment, we have Sam saying, what do you think about HNST? It seems cheap and could take a lot of market share from Johnson & Johnson in the next few years. So yes, it does seem cheap right now, but just remember, like, just because it's cheap doesn't necessarily mean it's good. But I was actually looking into this one a little bit. So the Honest Company, like I've actually been hearing about it a decent amount, and I know they focus a lot on like quality and like what ingredients they use, and like they're a lot into like beauty and like baby products and things like that, and they're really focused on like high quality like natural products from my understanding. And yes, like I know that's like definitely a big trend right now, and that's awesome. But when you look at a company like Johnson & Johnson or like Procter & Gamble, it's like they are very, like I guess you could say, powerful companies, and they've been very dominant over the past, I mean, let's go back. Like they've been dominant over the past like 20 years or even longer. Like yeah, actually a lot longer than that. Like the more like you scroll back on some of these charts, like you can just see like for the most part they just go on like a slow and steady increase. Like I think Tom has it pulled up from Procter & Gamble from 1985 on like a split adjusted basis. This thing was trading at $3 a share, and now it's at 158. So long story short, these powerful companies like Procter & Gamble and Johnson & Johnson, they're powerhouses, and they're powerhouses for a reason. One of those reasons being that, one, they have their stuff together, but two, they know how to innovate. So I just looked up on Google Trends the Honest Company, and one of the first things that was related to that query is Pampers Pure, and that's owned by Procter and Gamble. And Pampers Pure focuses on thoughtful ingredients, and they're trying to kind of do the same thing as the Honest Company. So it's like I've heard a lot about HNST. They definitely have potential, but keep in mind it's going to be really hard to compete with Procter and Gamble and Johnson and Johnson because they already have their systems built. Like they're already more established and they know how to innovate, and that's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be huge. And, they're just a brand new company. They haven't been on the market too long, so it's hard to say. And they've been on a huge downtrend pretty much ever since they debuted. And, whenever I look at stocks like DraftKings, of course, DraftKings has kind of been going down since, maybe like September, October, like maybe those types of areas. But HNST started a little bit earlier and just honestly has went straight down. Like Mike said, I think it could be good for the long term, but I like how he pointed out that these other companies are also going to try to do the same stuff. And, I think HNST could end up going up a little bit in the longer term, but, it's going to take a lot of convincing for me down here. Like, obviously, if we start to see these growth stocks like DraftKings start to fly up and then HNST follows along with the growth stocks and starts to come up too, I think it might be a pretty good play. But, just keep in mind that ever since they came on the market, they've also been in a pretty tough spot with all these other growth stocks tanking all at the same time.
Yeah, so with HNST, I just had to look into their fundamentals a little bit more. It's just like playing it based off of that they might take market share from Johnson & Johnson and Procter & Gamble. It's like I would need more than that because these companies are huge for a reason. So either way, I mean, it's definitely a potential play. It's not for me as of right now. If news comes out or something else changes, then maybe it'll be a play. But either way, good stuff and great comment, Sam. And then Sam also asked about CCL and then mentioned how it was trying to break out. So yeah, these cruise lines have been in a pretty good uptrend lately, and today it's up like 1%, and it's definitely not looking bad.
Yeah, it's not looking bad at all. It looks like it just started to maybe break out, Mike. It looks like we broke that pre-market high, which looks awesome. On the 1-minute chart, we're kind of retesting now that $20.75 support. See if that holds up. But the breakout looks pretty good. I hope it continues because it looks like we have a quick pullback as soon as it happened. Like it might be faking out a little bit or something. So hopefully we see it continue up here.
There we go. All right. And then we have Bravo saying, I'm always curious. I've been trading for... he said, sorry, I'm always curious. I've been trading for only 1 year. I'm a new investor / trader. How long have you guys been trading? So, gosh, Tom, I have to go back and think about this. I mean, what is it, 6 or 7 years now? I think 6 or 7 years for me. What about you?
Yeah, I turned 18 in 2016, and I've been trading for that ever since then. But I obviously I had accounts under like my grandparents' names and stuff like that. I would say for me, it's been about 7 years. And I know, Mike, like whenever I got into it, I actually met you like right at the beginning. So that was a pretty lucky scenario for me. But I remember I was actually trading AMD back whenever it was like $9. So right around whenever that was.
That's just crazy to think about. Like if I would have just held all the stocks I was trading when I first started, that would be insane. Like you mentioned AMD, Tom, at $9, and now it's at $140. Like I think I scooped up Apple. Oh gosh, I have to look back on this. Hold on. Hold on. Let me see something. Give me 1 second.
It's crazy to see how much these things have went up over the longer term. Like if you guys like look back at some of your past, maybe like statements from previous years and stuff, or even just think about the trades, like man, it's just crazy to think about how much money was like left on the table on some of these stocks.
Yeah, so I think on a split adjusted basis, I had Apple at like 20, maybe like $26 a share, and now it's at 173. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, that is insane to see. Like let's even like look at the percentage here, like right in the middle of like 2015 or something like that. All the way, like that's like 630% up to where we are now. Like, could you imagine like actually like putting like a a nice like, $20,000 position, just leaving it on there, you'd be pretty happy right now. That's for sure.
Crazy. Like, it's just, yeah, I mean, it really is crazy to think about how much some of these companies, especially Apple, like how much they've appreciated, like only over like the past like 5 years or so. Like 600% on Apple. That was already like one of like the leading companies. And don't even get me started on Tesla.
Yeah, let's see them. Let's see where they're at. They're up 3,200% on a split adjusted basis since the middle of 2016. Like that's just insane to even say, to be honest.
Yeah, crazy stuff. So, and then George said, "Damn, I wish we had a lot more culture on investing here in Portugal. I only started last year at 33, but hey, it's better to start sooner rather than later. I mean, the more you're in the market for, the better. So that's awesome to see, and a lot of it. I've heard a couple quotes lately where it's like." Don't try to time the market. It's more about like time in the market. So time in the market is better than timing the market. So it just goes to show you that like, the longer you're in the market, and especially if you're holding good companies, it should definitely be a great thing. So awesome stuff. And then Hunter said that he had BLNK at $1.92. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's insane. That one really flew up. Wow. Yeah, they went from like $1 up to 64. Wow, that's insane. I don't know. Well, I wonder when he got that. That was so low.
I'm just in awe, Tom. Like I'm looking at the chart. I'm like $64.50 was the high. Like, wow. What is that? 2,600%, something like that.
Yeah, that's 2,600% from like $2, not even all the way down to like $1, like you said.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then Vicky said that she had Apple since it was at 5. Wow. Well, I'm sure you're happy, Vicky, if you're still holding it. But yeah, like it just goes to show you, like Tom, like we literally talk about this for what is it, like 2 or 3 minutes, and we have a bunch of people saying like, oh, I had BLNK at this level, or you had AMD at this level, or Vicky and I had Apple at this level. It just goes to show you, like, if you buy solid companies and you just hold, great things can happen. So, but here's the thing, like I sold Apple way too early. I know you sold AMD way too early. I'm almost 100% sure that Hunter sold BLNK too early, but so if you just buy and hold, it's normally pretty good.
Yeah, it really is. Like a lot of people, they love to see those quick gains. Everybody wants to turn $1,000 into $100,000 today, but it's just not realistic to make happen. And sometimes these longer term plays can end up a lot better than people think, especially if you're like averaging in the whole time. Like let's say I was, averaging into AMD the whole time instead of selling out. It would be going up as I'm adding in as well. So then I'm like, even like getting higher gains than even when I initially started. And, there's all types of different scenarios and strategies you can do, like selling puts. And then, like I know Hunter and you, Mike, you guys love the wheel strategy. You can start selling covered calls up there at the top and doing all this crazy stuff. And, this is all just off of long-term shares. And, you would think that, long-term shares can be boring, but you can make them pretty fun with the covered calls and everything like that.
Yeah, and then Hunter goes, Mike, you would be absolutely correct that I sold too early. You would also be correct that I cry myself to sleep once a week thinking about it. Oh, gosh. Well, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say, but, I guess you could say live and learn, and the good thing is that there are a lot of good opportunities now. Like, we talk about them all the time, like AI, Coursera, DraftKings, and all that stuff. So, I think we'll be good for the next couple of years. And then even Matt said, had NVAX last year, sold at $38 on a trailing stop loss. Like, it just goes to show you, like, Tom, like, we talk about this for like 2 minutes, and everyone has like their 1 or 2 or 3 stocks that they had at such a low price point and they sold off. So moral of the story, buy and hold.
Yeah, buy and hold, play it like Warren Buffett. What does he say, Mike? Even if your stocks go down, what's his quote? You need to be able to withstand a 50% drop in the market, or you shouldn't even be playing it. So that even goes to show if your stocks go down, like let's say in my case, I've been buying up a lot of Kraft Heinz, which is like a Warren Buffett company. let's say they go down to 30, like obviously I'm not just going to get scared and get out. I'm going to play it for the longer term. Same thing with every other stock I have, so it's definitely a good thing to say and a good thing to practice. And, it's really hard, Mike. I feel like to trade stocks for the long term. Like I know it's a lot easier to say than it is to do, lots of people, like obviously like what we talk about, everyone sells out way too early and stuff. And at some point it's just like almost make a second account, put the money in there, forget about it. That I think that's the smarter way to do it.
Exactly. And then even Jay Deep said he had Moderna at $25 in February of 2020. That would have been a 10xer or even more actually, because it was at 500 like a couple months ago. So that is crazy. It's crazy. And then Bravo said, I'm holding a lot of DraftKings shares. What's your price target? $60, $70 with a question mark. So for me, I have decided that this is a long-term hold after evaluating everything, especially with, the legalization of, sports betting in different states. I know I want to hold this for the long term. So for that reason, I don't really have a price target. Like, let's say like I even had a price target of, let's say $70. Like, it's not like I'm going to sell at that level anyways, even if it hit that next year. So it's like, I don't really, like, it's not even relevant. Like, even if I had one, it's not like I would sell anyways because it's a longer term hold. And Tom just pulled up the map right now on DraftKings, and it just goes to show you that so the states in green is where sports betting is legal and DraftKings is live. The states in orange is where DraftKings is legal, but it's only the retail side of DraftKings. And then everything else, DraftKings is not there. Texas not there. California not there. Florida not there. Georgia not there. Like it, there's a lot of growth potential.
Yeah, there really is. Like New York is just getting started. That's going to be huge for DraftKings. And one other thing to keep in mind is that everybody's been harping on DraftKings because of the high marketing costs and everything like that. But keep in mind that they have been spending a lot of money marketing for reasons. Whenever these states like Texas finally legalize sports betting, who do you think is going to be on top in Texas? It's not going to be, Wynn sports betting thing. It's going to be DraftKings, or possibly like FanDuel or something, but DraftKings will be up at the top at least, which is great. Same thing with California. That's really where these marketing costs are going to pay off, is in some of these bigger states whenever it does finally legalize. And, we have to keep in mind that we honestly, like a lot of these states legalized, they're pretty small. I know Illinois is pretty big, like with Chicago. New York is just getting started. So that might be pretty good coming up in the next year. But like, let's be honest, like if California and Texas legalize, that might like double their customer base almost. Like, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. And another thing is, I know there's like a couple different industries that have a lot of growth potential, like obviously like sports betting, and another thing is like marijuana. Like I know that like has like a lot of legalization potential, but I know specifically with like the marijuana industry and like legalization, like there's a lot of hoops that those types of business owners have to go through, and like a lot of like rules and taxes and all this crazy stuff where like a lot of these like marijuana companies are not even profitable. So that's just another thing to keep in mind, where when you have the sports betting industry, it's like with DraftKings, it's not like they have to maintain a huge casino like MGM or Caesars does. Like it's all online, like there's less cost, so they could spend more money on marketing and advertising and sign up bonuses and all that. And like sports betting and just betting in general is extremely profitable. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's where like another thing that I really like about it is like, with the marijuana industry, it's like one, like there's a lot of like special regulations and all that stuff and costs that come along with it. But like sports betting, like it's not the same, like especially like so much of it is online, like even Tom, like if we looked at like MGM or like Caesars really quickly, like yes, they've done amazing over the past couple of years, or for the past for their history, they've done very well, right? And that's awesome. They've built great brands, but there's also a ton of expenses that come along with that. Like if we look at MGM, they've been in business for however long, and they only have like a EPS of 3 cents. Like it's just like I'm just really happy with the industry DraftKings is in and their long-term potential.
Yeah, me too. Like obviously MGM and Caesars and stuff, those ones are going to do better. Like whenever Las Vegas is obviously, doing better as well. So that plays a big role into that. And, like you said, DraftKings is going to be huge because they don't have to rely on those hotels and stuff. And, as the future goes on, who knows, maybe less and less people are going to be staying at hotels, especially if like the variants get bad or anything, that might just help DraftKings even more. So looking at it, I love them too, Mike. And, I really think that they're a lot better than some of these other companies like MGM and those other ones. I know MGM has some pretty good, though, sports betting stuff with Bet MGM. I know that's another pretty big thing out there. So at least they're innovating and getting into the game a little bit. That's probably why their stock's been good. But I think DraftKings is a lot better. And like you said, it's just non-comparable to the marijuana sector. And another thing is, Mike, is that marijuana is like illegal on a federal level. I think sports betting is legal on a federal level as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and then Matt, in regards to legalization, Matt said that they voted against it in Florida, but I think the Seminole tribe had a big influence on that. So, there's definitely some hoops to go through with the sports betting and legalization and all that stuff. But, whether they get legal in Florida, in a couple years or whenever, I'm not worried about it. There's so many, I guess, good states to expand into. Obviously, Florida is one of the larger ones, but I'm not worried about it at all, to be honest. And this downtrend that we've been seeing is like a blessing and a curse for, it sucks because no one loves to see their stock fall down by 50% in 2 months. But then again, if we never would have had this drop, we would have never had the opportunity to buy more. So there's give and take with it. But Tom, we're coming towards the end of the stream. Do you have any last minute ideas, plays, or anything?
As far as anything goes today, really, I'm looking at just some of these growth stocks again. We look at these stocks like LCID, like RBLX. These stocks are having some pretty good moves back to the upside today. CCL, Carnival Cruise Lines. I think a lot of these stocks have potential to keep possibly running today. CCL is actually on a pretty good breakout here, especially if we can keep moving up above 21. So I'm glad to see stocks doing pretty well again. Today was more of a mixed day. Half the watch list is red, half of it's green, but I am happy to see a lot of them doing pretty well, especially like Tesla and some of the bigger ones.
There we go. All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. We had a pretty fun time, and we really appreciate all of you joining. So thank you so much for joining, and have an amazing rest of your day.